If you're feeling completely hopeless right now, that there's just no reason to keep pushing forward, or that things are just too difficult and it's easier to completely give up, this video was meant to find you. And I know this video is meant to find you because 7 years ago, I was feeling exactly the same way that you do, and I tried to take my own life. And every single day since, I am so glad I didn't. September is Suicide Prevention Month, and it's been almost exactly 7 years since the date that I tried to take my own life. And over the last 7 years, I have learned a lot. There have been so many days where I have wanted to give up, where I feel like I have completely run out of hope, or that it's just too difficult. But every single day over the last 7 years ago, I am so glad that I was not successful in trying to take my own life. And I have found so many different reasons to stay, and I want to share those reasons with you. Because even if things feel completely hopeless right now, that there's no point in moving forward, I promise you there are so many reasons to stay, so many people in your life who love you more than you can know, and there is so much excitement waiting ahead of you. But before that, I briefly want to share my own story for anyone who feels like they might be completely alone in wanting to take their life, because I have been there. I get it. As I get into my story, I do want to share a brief trigger warning. I really want this video to be meant for anyone who is currently struggling right now, but if you have struggled with depression or you've struggled with thoughts of taking your own life in the past, just be aware going into this video that this is going to be a heavy one, and if you're not feeling 100 today, that's totally fine. Go get some food, go on a walk, and I'll see you in the next video. 7 years ago for me was a rough time. After somewhat successfully being able to escape a toxic childhood, unhealthy home life, and very predatory religion, I wasn't yet able to grapple with the long-term mental health effects that each of those experiences had imprinted on me. After a lifetime of feeling constant emotional danger and dysregulation, I didn't know how to process and deal with everything that I had been so desperately trying to avoid that was negatively impacting my mental health. I was a college dropout. I was completely broke, working 3 jobs, and even in my desperate attempts to hold on to hope for life, I had a plethora of tangible examples to show that life was not getting any better, it was only getting worse. On top of all this, I no longer had a relationship with my parents or a lot of my family, and I was really struggling with a very toxic relationship that was completely whittling away at my self-worth. Mix all of this together, it was kind of a miracle in and of itself that I hadn't yet reached a breaking point. But unbeknownst to me, the breaking point would come. I started to feel a wave of depression and hopelessness come over me. And at that point, I just thought to myself, you know what? I'm done fighting it. I don't want to fight these feelings anymore. My life is only getting worse. There's no reason to believe that it's ever going to get better. I've pushed long enough. And what started off as a completely normal day ended with me swallowing an entire bottle of pills and ending up in the hospital in a mandatory 72-hour hold. If right now you're thinking that you just need to do it, you need to stop chickening out and finally just make the decision to leave, I want you to know that I was thinking exactly the same thing right up until the second I did it. And I can't describe to you how much regret filled my body the second I decided to attempt. How much I wish I hadn't done it, how I wish I could just take everything back, and the sudden realization that maybe there is hope for me. If you're considering taking your life even for a second, let me tell you, as someone who actually did it, it is so not worth it. And let me tell you, I am so grateful that my attempt was not successful and I was able to get the help I needed afterwards. And just for the fact that I've been given the last 7 years when that could have been taken away in a second. And I promise you, you have so many years of incredible experiences awaiting you. So many people whom you have yet to meet who are going to love you so much. And so many little things that you're going to be grateful for every single day just waiting. So here are 10 more reasons to stay. If you decide to leave, you're going to miss so many adventures that you had no idea you would ever be able to experience. You're going to miss so many reminders that life is beautiful and there's so much to live for. Ever since I was a kid, I have always been obsessed with planning every single facet of my life. I was like the goal person. I had big dreams, I had passion, I had a plan for my life, and inevitably, when the plans fell through and I was left in the dust of so many broken dreams and disappointment from not being able to achieve those goals, I really thought, well, that's it. There's no reason to keep going, because if I can't make my dreams and goals come true, what is the point? But now, as I reflect back on the last 7 years, I've realized that all of my most treasured moments, the moments that brought me the most joy, the most happiness, were never when I accomplished a goal, when a dream came true. For me, I found the meaning to keep going purely come from the unexpected. I don't think there's a better example of this than my YouTube channel and online growth. You see, when I tried to take my own life, I was hovering at around maybe 1,000 subscribers. I had been creating content for about a year and a half. I wasn't seeing any growth, and there really was no reason to believe that I would ever excel online. But within a year after attempting to take my own life, I was already at 1 million subscribers on YouTube. I was seeing explosive growth online and found an incredible community of so many supportive people, none of which I ever expected, none of which I ever planned for, and none of which would have ever been possible had I been successful in taking my own life. But it's not just the big things. I would argue that the smaller things have given me more meaning and motivation to keep pushing forward. Things like being out in nature, traveling to new cities or countries, and going on adventures that I never would have expected I ever would go on, or even the peace and mental clarity that I found through meditation. There are so many little things that I have discovered over the past 7 years that have given me so much motivation to keep pushing forward, and that I truly could not imagine my life without now. And so even if you're feeling like a failure, your dreams and goals haven't come true, you feel like your life is only going downwards, there are so many beautiful things waiting ahead of you. You just have to keep pushing. On a similar note, there are so many incredible people that you haven't met yet. I could have never expected how many incredible people I would have met in the last 7 years if you had talked to me back in 2018. I am someone who has always really struggled with isolation. I'm definitely an introvert and I find a lot of comfort in isolation. But I've learned throughout my mental health journey the value of making time to build connections with people because of how dark it's gotten when I'm isolated. And 7 years ago, I felt very isolated. I had pushed a lot of people in my life out. I didn't have a relationship with my family. I had left an unhealthy relationship, and I actively rejected connection. And you might feel the same, because if you're struggling with thoughts of taking your own life, it's really easy to convince yourself that nobody cares, or you care too much and you don't want your own struggles to affect the people around you. But if only you knew how many incredible people you have yet to meet. I found a circle of people to support me and understand my mental health in a way that I never found 7 years ago. And the same thing is going to happen to you. Just because you feel like people don't currently understand you now, or you don't feel comfortable feeling like a burden to the people in your life right now, there are so many people you're going to meet in the future who will understand you and your mental health in a way that you've never experienced before. And it's not even just friendships or relationships. So many of my favorite memories are with complete strangers, whether it was a random man I met on the beach in Bali, where right after meeting him, I hopped on his bike and rode all the way across the island to go scuba diving, or a Buddhist monk I met in Thailand who was able to give me valuable life advice. There are so many beautiful connections just waiting for you that are going to enrich your life so much. Just keep pushing. The next reason to stay, and one that I wish I knew so much earlier, is that you just haven't found the right tools yet. I've been in therapy a long time. I started 10 years ago, and there are so many times where therapy has truly saved my life. But back 7 years ago, in a way, my experience with therapy contributed to me feeling more hopeless and inevitably my decision to attempt to take my own life. And I know that sounds bad, but hear me out. My first 3 years of going to therapy, I really wasn't utilizing it to its full potential. I wasn't being fully honest about my thoughts, experiences, and traumas with my therapist. I hadn't really found the right therapist, and instead of really trying to work on that, I wrote off therapy as not helpful enough for everything that I was going through. I internalized and ruminated on the belief that I'm too broken even for therapy. Therapy can't fix me, so there's no more hope for me. And oh my gosh, was I so wrong, because I just hadn't found the right tools yet, the right therapist, the right modality, the right mindfulness techniques. So many things that I now use every single day to make sure I have good mental health. I never knew existed and wasn't open to trying because I had written myself off as too broken to fix. So if you're feeling like you're too broken to fix, that you're beyond help, that therapy won't do anything, I'm just gonna say it, you're wrong. You just haven't found the right tools, and you can't give up before you find what those tools are. Stay for all the I love yous you don't know you're going to receive. For so much of my life, I was never able to accept love from others. I really saw myself as just this lone soldier that had to deal with all of my challenges alone, and I couldn't rely on anyone else. But over the past 7 years, I have been blown away by how many people I've met that have not only enriched my life in so many ways, but have given me so much love I never would have been able to receive before. I get it, it's a dark-ass world. Life can really suck. But there are so many people willing to show you so much love that you haven't met yet. So many I love yous that you're going to receive. And not only that, you're going to enrich so many other people's lives that you don't even know about yet. I know it may be hard to accept love right now. I know you may feel like a burden and you don't want to inconvenience others, but there are so many people in your future that have so much love to give that you haven't met yet. So if nothing else, keep going for them. You need to stay because of all the people you're going to inspire with your story. For a lot of my life, I got very caught up in the mental cycles of thinking, why is this happening to me? Why do I have to go through all of these things? Why can't my life be easier? But I've always had to believe that everything in my life has happened for a reason. And I've learned that that reason is to share my story and help anyone else who's going through the same thing. And I have seen that belief come true through my videos, where I've shared my story of my eating disorder, my self-harming experience, escaping the cult of Mormonism, or sharing my story right now of how I decided to take my own life 7 years ago. Sharing my story has made more impact than I'll ever be able to know. And the same thing is true with you. You truly have no idea how many people you're going to inspire with your story, and the best thing you can do is to keep pushing through for them. If you leave now, you'll only be transferring your pain onto others. I want to be sensitive with this one because I have used it as a way to shame myself and enable self-destructive patterns out of guilt for not wanting to hurt others. But it's true. If you decide to leave, all of that pain you're feeling right now will immediately be transferred onto everyone else in your life. When I attempted, I didn't know anyone in my life who had taken their own life. I really didn't understand the type of impact it has. But having lost people in my life, having lost people really close to me in my life to suicide, I can't describe the amount of pain and sorrow you have to live with when someone you love commits suicide. It is horrific. Please don't put that pain on them. And I know it may feel really difficult feeling like the only reason you're staying is so that you don't hurt the people in your life. But if you can, try to shift your perspective so that you want to get better for them. Use them as motivation to ask for help, to work on yourself, and to get better so that not only can you continue to enrich their lives, but so that they can continue to enrich yours. And finally, life can be so dark, but life can be so beautiful. One of the reasons I decided to attempt to take my own life was because I just felt that I would never be truly happy. The idea of being happy has always been something I've really struggled with, and something that I've always felt is just impossible and completely out of reach. And I know for a lot of us with depression, finding happiness can feel completely out of reach because there's so many examples around us of how awful life can be. But as I've gotten older, I've come to learn that the meaning of life is not to find happiness or to always be happy, but instead to feel all of the awful, negative, and hurtful emotions along with the moments of joy, happiness, and excitement. And whether it's because of depression, the way our brains work, or because of societal expectations, it is so easy to focus on all of the awful in the world. But there is so much beauty to be found. And I'm learning that instead of focusing on the bad, or instead of trying to ignore the bad and only focus on the good, the wonder and magic of life is found in feeling. And by making the active choice in life to see the good in people, to see the wonder of life, to find the moments of joy, that's what makes life worth it. I know it's so easy to focus on the darkness, but there is so much beauty in life that you have yet to discover. Stay for the good. So I know this video is focused on reasons why you should stay, and I really hope that all of the reasons I listed can hopefully provide a bit of a paradigm shift to you in the darkness that you're experiencing, to realize how much more there is left in your life to experience. Reminding myself of each of these things every single day helps to keep me pushing forward. But I also know that when you are consumed by all of the thoughts, the overwhelming emotions, and just utter darkness that depression can bring, sometimes it's not enough. You remember how I was saying how you just might not have the right tools yet? About a year ago, when I was really struggling with my depression, I worked with my therapist to develop what I like to call my ToolKit, which is a set of strategies and practices I can immediately put into place anytime I'm feeling overwhelmed by my depression or like I just want to give up. Having my toolkit ready at any moment has been absolutely life-changing in helping me get out of really severe depressive episodes. And if you're feeling like all of the reasons to stay I was just listing out just aren't quite enough for you, please use my toolkit that I've built over the last year, because it has helped me more than what I can even put into words, and it's something that I utilize every day to not only make sure that I'm not consumed by my depression, but that I'm consistently reminded that life is beautiful and life is worth it. My first tool that I use almost every single day is to remind myself that these emotions that I'm feeling will pass. One of the things I learned in therapy that has been so beneficial is radical acceptance. I have come to learn with time that my depression will always be there. I mean, I hope that one day I won't have to experience depression at the extremes that I have before, but I've learned that with the way that my brain is structured, my depression is something I just can't actively ignore. So much of my life was a seesaw pattern of either completely ignoring and avoiding my depression out of fear of what it might make me do, or seeing the pendulum swing to the other side of being completely consumed by my depression and letting it take control over every aspect of my life. And being in this back and forth cycle for so many years was just not healthy and actively contributed to the extreme lows that I was having, one of which led me to attempting to take my own life. And after so many years and working with my therapist, I came to realize that my approach was just not working. It was not good to try and avoid these depressive thoughts and emotions all the time until they got to a breaking point where I would then be all consumed by my depression. And so I started practicing radical acceptance. Anytime I have the thought or temptation to take my own life, rather than feeding that thought or completely avoiding it, I instead accept that what I'm feeling in that moment is valid and acknowledge that this feeling will pass. Instead of thinking, avoid, don't think about it, or instead of feeding those thoughts and following that spiral, which I know where it ends, I instead think to myself, you know what? It's okay that I'm feeling this, and I felt this before, and I know that this emotion and this feeling will pass. Rather than having a relationship with my depression that's rooted in shame and avoidance, I instead try to practice acceptance and empathy towards myself. And I've noticed that every time I practice this type of radical acceptance, it regulates my emotions and gives me the motivation to keep moving forward. Instead of viewing my suicidal thoughts as something that I need to be ashamed of and I have to be disgusted by and I can't think about at all, I try to give myself the empathy that I would give others who are going through the same thing. And just making that shift in my mindset has been so beneficial for my mental health, and always the first tool that I use whenever I'm feeling overwhelmed by my depression. The next tool I use, and I know you're going to roll your eyes when you hear this because I always rolled my eyes whenever my therapist or anyone in my life recommended this to me, but get up and move. Emotions move through the body, and by being too sedentary, it can oftentimes keep our emotions trapped and feel so much more overwhelming. Instead of just pacing around my room, now, anytime I'm feeling overwhelmed by my emotions, I try to go out in nature or go on a walk or play a song and dance or go on a run, go on a hike, go exercise, something to get my body moving and at least start to process the emotions through my body. Now, I want to be clear in saying that I am not the type of person to be like, hey, go exercise or go out in nature and that'll fix your depression, because it won't. Honestly, this on its own doesn't really do much for me. But this tool, in combination with all of the other tools and mindsets I have, significantly helps me get out of my depressive episodes. Because looking back at all of my worst spirals, there's always one parallel that wasn't consistent throughout them. I wasn't moving. So if you can, get up, move, dance, exercise, do something to start engaging your body and get all those thoughts out of your head. My third tool I use and recommend to you, in case the first two haven't worked, is to meditate. I know everyone says to meditate, and trust me, for years I completely wrote it off because as someone with ADHD, sitting still for like 30 minutes is just impossible. And believe me, whenever I'm having really bad spirals where a million thoughts are going through my brain, the last thing I want to do is meditate. But at least trying to sit still, clear all the thoughts out of your head, and practice your breath work can be so significant. And what I always recommend to literally everyone in my life that has been a game changer for meditation is to use mala beads. These are used in many religions to assist in the meditation process by giving your fingers a kinesthetic experience of touching each bead with every breath in order to help you better focus. This has been so helpful for me with my ADHD and my inability to sit completely still, and really guiding me through a meditation. And I also want to say, I think a lot of us have this preconceived idea of meditation being this 1 hour experience, but truthfully, my meditations are always anywhere from like 5 to 15 minutes. Super short, but good enough to be able to practice my breath work, to ground myself a little more, clear my head, and if nothing else, trying to channel peace in those moments of chaos. And again, like all the other things, I want to say that this on its own has never been able to single-handedly pull me out of my spirals and depressive episodes. But in combination with all the other tools that I use, it has been significantly helpful, and I hope it can help you as well. Now, if I feel that these first 3 tools are just not working, I immediately get out of the house. For me, this looks like going on a drive, going to the park, going and treating myself to a dessert that I've been wanting to try, or a new food place. Go to an animal shelter so you can get some puppy therapy. Go to a music event so you can disconnect from all your stresses. Whatever it looks like, just get out of the house. I found that so many times when I start to spiral really bad, it's because I just stay cooped up in my house. So the sooner you can get out, move your body, do something fun, or even for your personal safety, just be around other people, the better. My next tool is to pull out my list of reasons to keep going. I have these written down in my phone. I have them written down on a note card that I carry with me so that at any moment, if I am feeling overwhelmed or that my depression is too much, I can physically look at the list of things and reflect on each of them as reminders to keep going. And if the list on its own is not enough, I pull out a piece of paper and start writing out new reasons to keep going. This really helps me because instead of my mind fixating on all the reasons why I want to leave, I instead am pushing my brain to think outside of those depressive thoughts and channel new motivations that I can use to help me in the future. And in addition to that, I also have a list of all the difficult moments that I've gone through in the past and how I got through them. It's very easy to get caught up in the thoughts of, I'm not strong enough, I'll never be able to make it, I can't get through this. But the truth is, I've gone through so many difficult things in the past, and I've made it through when I never thought it would be possible. And doing this exercise helps to restore confidence in myself that, you know what, I know I can make it through this. I know I can push past, even if it feels really hard and overwhelming right now. I've been through worse. Now, my next tools do involve some preparation work, but if you know that you struggle with bouts of depression or temptations to take your own life, I really recommend that you implement these so that if you do find yourself in another depressive episode, you can rely on these tools to pull you out. The next tool I use has gotten me through some really dark moments where I just didn't think I was going to make it, but create something to look forward to. There have been a lot of times throughout the last 7 years where I've thought to myself, I don't think I can make it a month. I don't think I'm strong enough to make it through the next 2 weeks. And so I started planning something that I could look forward to every single week so that even in my most dark moments, I could say to myself, I just got to make it another week. I just got to make it 5 more days. For me, this is music concerts and EDM events. Anytime I go to a concert or an EDM event or a festival, I'm reminded of how incredible life is. I feel fully in touch with my surroundings, my body, and with the people around me. And it helps me disconnect from all of the life stressors I face every day. And so, in my darkest moments, you would find me at a music concert or a rave every single week. I would pay $30 to go to at least one event. So if nothing else, it gave me something to look forward to and a reason to keep pushing just a few more days. And so if you can, do it for yourself. Find that thing that makes you enjoy life just a little bit more, that gives you a space to disconnect from all of your worries and stressors, and make a plan to do it in a few months, or in a month, or in a few weeks. Having that milestone that I could work towards, that I could just push through until, helped me so much in my darkest moments. Now, my next tool might seem a little obvious, but of course it's something I always recommend, and I know I have as an option. But if things are getting really bad, reach out to your therapist or reach out to a friend or someone you know you can trust who will provide a non-judgmental space for you where they can hear you out or distract you, just someone who is your safe space. I am definitely guilty of being the person who struggles alone and doesn't tell anyone when I'm really going through it, mostly because I'm pretty consistently struggling with depression and I just don't want to be a bother on others. But I always try to think in terms of putting myself in someone else's shoes. If someone came to me and said, hey, I really need you right now, my depression is really bad and I don't know if I want to live anymore, not only would I of course want to help them, but I would feel really honored that they felt that I could provide the safe space that they needed. And I have to remind myself of that because too often I will gaslight myself into thinking that nobody cares or nobody wants to help me or I don't want to be a burden on others, when I know that I would never respond that way to anyone in need. And in crisis moments, I'm really grateful that I have my therapist to lean on. And I know therapy isn't accessible by everyone, but if you do have a therapist, remember that it is literally their job to help you through these moments, and you should feel no shame in relying on them when you're feeling overwhelmed. But whether it's your therapist, a friend, your partner, or just someone you trust, please rely on them because I guarantee that more people will be willing to help you than you think. Now, I do have one final tool that I've actually never used and hopefully won't have to use anytime soon, but I know it's an option in case I'm ever in a crisis again, and I know this may feel like a big ask for you, but if you have friends who truly love you in your life, I really recommend you have this in your toolkit. A few years ago, my depression was really out of control. I had fully relapsed into my eating disorder. I was self-harming. It was just a really bad time for me. I hadn't celebrated my birthday that year, and unbeknownst to me, all of my friends had secretly planned a surprise birthday party for me. And at that birthday party, they made a little notebook where each of them wrote little notes sharing how much I mean to each of them. And originally they wanted me to read this at the party, but I was like, I can't. I'm going to be way too overwhelmed with emotions. I'll save this for a later date. And I actually haven't read that notebook yet because I want to save it for any time that I'm in a really severe crisis, when I feel like there's just no reason to keep pushing forward or that no one cares. I know I have that in my toolkit if I ever get to the point again where I want to take my own life. And like I said, I know this is a big ask. If you're a people pleaser like me, it may feel super overwhelming to ask your friends to do this, but just knowing I have that notebook with so much love in it in case I ever get to the point where I don't want to live anymore has been such a comfort to me. And I'm sure you have more people in your life than you know who would be willing to do this for you. So if you're like me and you feel too scared to reach out to your friends when you need them, try this out. If nothing else, it will be at least one more resource for you to use in moments where you feel like you just can't keep going. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that if you're struggling right now, this was, if nothing else, able to help pass the time and distract you from all of the overwhelming emotions that you're feeling. But I really hope it can inspire you at least a little bit to keep going. I know you're strong enough. I know you can push through it, and there's so many wonderful, incredible things waiting ahead of you. I do want to ask a favor of you guys. If you're someone who has experienced suicidal thoughts or extreme depression, and you've found things that have helped you get through those moments, please comment them down below. Not only am I going to use these as motivation to help me in my darkest moments, I really hope that our little community can help support each other and remind each other that life is worth it. And if you have someone in your life who you know struggles with depression, please, if you feel like it, share this video with them. I really want this video to be able to help anyone in need. We're all going through it, and each of us can use a little bit more hope and motivation to keep going. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all so much, and I'll see you in the next video.